In episode 3 of our Will of Africa Kgalagadi trip, we take in the last bits of Mabuasehube, which is the unfenced Botswana side of the massive park. Up until now, we have had some incredible sightings and memories.
My name is Will Jansen from Will of Africa Adventures. We do bespoke safaris focusing on photography.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Doyle and I'm a professional guide and a conservationist. The reason behind coming on this trip was that Ironman was very keen to start incorporating a conservation and ecological element into their 4x4 trips. And so that's essentially my role on this trip, is to perhaps interpret a lot of the stuff that we see.
Arriving at Guinea, we saw a lot of lion tracks. It was a lot, and you can see it's backwards and forwards.
Guinea campsite number 1. Just want to show you something quickly. Mick here is going to demonstrate the spoor we found right behind the A-frame here.
Let's just look for those. Here we go. He walked along here. Here we go. So this was done in wet-ish sand because of the ridging you see here. So after lots of nice rain, we'll see how we go for the rest of the 2 evenings.
You know what I think?
What do you think?
We are camping in a lion highway.
Whose idea was that?
So there must have been a water source close by, and at the same time we noticed a lot of vultures. There were leopard-faced and Cape vultures. Only later, when we arrived at Nosip, we heard that there was a red hartebeest that were caught by wild dog, and we couldn't find the carcass because the grass was also quite high, and you don't want to venture too far away from your campsite.
And I think people are often quite repulsed by vultures. They think that they're dirty, nasty, smelly birds. They're incredibly clean in that after they have been in a carcass, they will actually go and bathe. So they will clean themselves. And they are really the garbage disposers of the bushveld or any environment where they occur. And without them, things would not be particularly pretty because you'd have rotting carcasses in the bush that would not get cleaned. And as a result, you then start getting all sorts of diseases that come in. And vultures have an incredible digestive tract. I mean, they can deal with pretty much anything, including diseases like anthrax. So really important as part of the kind of cleanup crew. It's blowing an absolute gale at the moment. So yeah, everything is kind of almost flattened to the ground. But what I've got here is a fruit known as a Plummer Melon, and this is one of the fruits that really sustains animals in the Kalahari, especially during the winter months. So quite unusually, it actually, the fruits ripen during the winter, and so, which obviously makes them more palatable for the animals. But everything will eat these. When we arrived just now, there were actually some Guinea fowl which departed, but as you can see I've got a Guinea fowl feather. You can probably see the wind, how it's blowing it. So anything from birds up to gemsbok, even predators will eat them, and they have an extremely high water content. So again, not only getting some nutrition from it, but also in a very arid environment, getting a lot of water that is required for survival. So yeah, really a very, very important plant in these arid savannas. When we talk about plants and animals, sometimes you'll hear people talk about things called defense strategies. And that seems like quite a strange concept. But for a plant that grows out here, when something browses it substantially, that can become a problem because now it's reducing what leaf matter you have in order to photosynthesize. So what the thorn trees have done is they've developed thorns. So the thorns are literally just modified parts of the leaf that have become hardened and what we call spinescent. So that's a deterrent. You'll see a lot of animals will kind of almost like browse around, but perhaps a lot more gentle than they would be if it wasn't armed with thorns.
Right, so for brunch, we are having bolognese on potbrood. And we have a lovely potbrood that's been baking here for approximately a half an hour, together with some jams, Nutellas, and peanut butter and honey for those that have a sweet tooth.
I think the most beautiful thing about Mabuasehube is the low density of people. You see very little to no cars, and sometimes, like now, you are at a waterhole and there is nobody else. It's just us and the wildlife. It's very special.
We've been seeing quite a number of black-backed jackals here, and black-backed jackals are part of the carnivore group of carnivores that are known as mesocarnivores. And these are generally medium-sized carnivores, but they're really important in an ecosystem because not only do they scavenge, which most people perceive jackals to be, but they're also incredibly important in controlling rodents. So very, very important to ecosystems. And then we also saw some Cory bustards here, and they appeared to be sunbathing, which is something that many birds do in order to clean themselves. But one of the really strange behaviors that happens, I've seen it with doves, which we've also seen a lot of here, is something called anting. And what the bird does is it lays down literally over an ant's nest, and it allows these ants to crawl all over it. And they almost go into a trance. I'm not really sure what the purpose of it is, but yeah, it's a really strange thing to witness.
Okay, so on the menu tonight, we are starting off with a mushroom soup. Then for mains, we will do Mr. Janssen's butternut pot, a fillet with some baby potatoes and spicy rice. And I have a real treat installed for tonight for dessert, which would be deep fried barwans or barwan spring rolls with whipped cream.
It's super early in the morning and we are on our way to Matopi today, so it's a long travel day. But before we go there, we're going to stop by a waterhole and sit there until the rest of the crew arrive and join us for the journey. So luckily, en route, we've got a waterhole, so it's still dark. Hopefully we get some good action. I'm still very sleepy, but I'm super excited to see what's at the waterhole. Let's go. I have a beautiful big male lion all to myself. He is in such a good condition. Looking over the plains, he has positioned himself just behind a bush, making it very hard for me to get a shot. But it seems like he wants to roar.
Wow.
Eventually, I got myself into a better camera position to have a few moments with this big cat before he moved off.
The other thing about lions, and it happens in other predators as well, but particularly lions, that if a male has sired cubs and he loses his position as a dominant male, if another dominant male comes into that area, they will kill all the cubs of the previous male. And the reason that's done is twofold. One is you don't want some other lion's genetics being passed on, but the other is it brings the females back into estrus immediately. So the chance to breed and pass on your genes then comes back into play. The only reason that males have those big manes is to protect them when they're fighting, because obviously going for the neck area, if you've got this huge, although it might look soft, it's incredibly, incredibly coarse.
Right, now the 100 odd kilometers to Matopi. Will mention that it's going to take about 3 to 4 hours. So we got a tough drive, but I'm super happy that I just got this sighting. Wow.
I'm so far away from home, in this desert of regrets. Never thought that I would have to let you go. Tell me, how can I forget? If I could travel back in time, I'd lay a blanket full of stars.
This is what's called a gemsbok cucumber, and the reason it gets the name is that gemsbok like to eat it. And if you have a look inside, it's got quite a lot of fleshy fruit and a lot of moisture. So that's the reason that animals would want to utilize it. So things like jackals and other animals will also use it, porcupines. And then what happens is very often these break open in half like this, and once the seeds and fruit have all been excavated, then water collects in them. And so you'll find that these become a source of water for other insects and animals after the rains. So yeah, a pretty important part of these ecosystems, very much like the Plummer melons.
One thing you need to remember when going to Mabuasehube is you need to have enough fuel. So we're going to refuel now, and Will is going to show me his tospompi.
And the tospompi is blue.
What is a tospompi?
It's that little thing that you shake with your left hand to get the fuel up the pipe to go down into your...
Sorry, I can't take you seriously.
Viewer discretion is advised.
I will break your fall, even if you don't love me, even if you don't love me.
The night skies of these arid environments, especially in the winter months, are particularly beautiful, especially if you have what we call a dark sky. So that's essentially new moon. And the reason for that is the air is generally very cold, which makes it stable, and it's lacking in water vapor. So you just get very clear, crisp skies. At the moment, we would obviously be seeing, we're in July, so we're seeing what we call a winter sky, dominated mainly by Scorpius. And if you come in the summer months, star viewing not as good, because obviously you get a build-up of thunderclouds and there's always the chance of rain. But there you start seeing your summer sky, so you start seeing constellations like Orion and Taurus. The Southern Cross is obviously pretty much always present, a really cool thing, especially if you've got guests from the Northern Hemisphere. They don't see it. And one of the few star-based ways of actually finding direction. So there is hardly any light pollution out in these environments. And so I think people in cities have forgotten or may have never even seen what the Milky Way actually looks like. And when you come into these environments, just to see the sheer number of stars it's just unbelievable. And I was very fortunate a number of years ago now to do some work with a local sand community. And although we couldn't communicate particularly well, one of the things that really amazed me was that in the West, what we do is we look at like the Southern Cross and we put 4 stars and we make a picture from the stars. And what became very evident from talking to this lady, the sand lady, was that they don't look at the stars, they look at the space between the stars. And so their whole perception of how they see their night sky is completely different to ours.
Leaving Matopi, we came across a burnt out Land Cruiser Prado, which was a diesel vehicle, or diesel engine, and it was completely burnt out. There was some damage to the vehicle. It looked like it was in an accident and must have caught fire. And we were all standing around the vehicle speculating what happened, and look at what this looks when it's burnt, and the tires were gone, all the wires. And as we got back in the vehicles, 2 female lions jumped out from the bush, and at that point we realized, you know, we get out of these things and we're excited to see this vehicle, but we don't always think about the possible dangers lurking around us. And that's a valuable lesson that we've reminded ourselves of. Always, before you get out of the vehicle, check your surroundings, check the environment, make sure it is safe enough to get out of your vehicle, because that could have gone wrong. So leaving Matopi to Nassau was about 100 kilometers, and increasingly more dunes going up and down, and you need to be careful because vehicles can be approaching from the other side. It's a 2-way route. The dunes got a lot steeper. Fortunately, we all got through it.
Welcome back to South Africa, and we are at Nosop Camp, and Will and Egan have prepared amazing lunch. A lekker ou pie.
Hello, Ma Baker.
Hello, Ma Baker,
Yeah.
Ma.
Ma Baker.
From here on out, Tweede Vieren, and we're going to gun it because it's quite a long road, and we're going to arrive approximately at 4 o'clock. So let's go.
Dirk, it was a very long day. We left this morning at about 8:15. We had to do 100 kilometers through the dune veld, up and down, over. And this trailer was quite heavy, so long day. Got to Nosop at about 12:30. Had a quick, very quick lunch, a pie or two, and then we did the 161 kilometers to Tuerofura and had to sign in. Found that the border post only open tomorrow. Fortunately, we're here for 3 nights. So we're just having some snacks for the guys, sorting out the vehicles, starting with dinner very shortly, and then looking forward to a hot curry with spaghetti tonight. So looking forward to that.
In the next and final episode, we explore the South African side of the Kgalagadi Transfrontier Park. Thank you so much for watching. If you do like the videos, please like and subscribe. Till next time.